Afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. In Kumasi, it's live on Love 99.5 FM. We're also streaming live on Facebook and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Amenuveve FM in Aflao, Lolonyo FM in Hohoe, Kekeli Radio in Ho, and Radio Justice in Tamale. We have our digital outlets also. You can listen live. It's my joyonline.com app and Spotify. In this edition, at least 100 unvaccinated travelers arriving in Ghana, administered with single-dose Johnson & Johnson jabs less than 12 hours after no vaccination, no entry policy kick-started. We're live at the Kotoka International Airport for updates. Meanwhile, health officials justify mandatory vaccination, insisting the public's health overrides personal choices.
And I think I also need to stress that we are talking about health of millions of Ghanaians. And I think that when it comes to pandemic, we are titrating the populace health against individuals.
Also this afternoon, e-levy dominates discussions at the Public Accounts Committee hearing.
Do 1,000 Ghana.
First one.
I'm
charged on 900.
On the 900.
I do another 1,000.
Do another 1,000 Ghana cedis. You'll be charged on the 1,000 Ghana cedis.
But I'm doing that one to another person.
I'll bring you details. Meanwhile, Special Advisor to the President, Yao Safumafo, describes Ajinkwa budget as the best the country has ever produced.
Indeed, this current budget is one of the best budgets this country has ever produced. Because there are two things in it which are fundamental.
Also this afternoon, fire destroys estimated 300 acres of maize farm and other food crops ready for harvesting at Nakbaya in the northeast region.
The destruction is unquantifiable. Some have lost over 20 acres, others 50 acres or more, and we have nothing left to sustain us the next farming season.
We'll get to hear from farmers who say they cannot feed themselves and want government to come to their aid. We have sports.
Director General of the National Sports Authority, Professor Peter Chimeti, has been explaining why they have asked clubs to move away from the Accra Sports Stadium. We have details in 20 minutes.
And our build up to Christmas Day continues, and we'll hear from children in Kumasi on how they are preparing towards the Yuletide after missing out on the festivities in 2020 due to the COVID-19 restrictions.
So this Christmas party, I want to enjoy. I want to buy my outing dress myself because my mommy always buy it to me. As for this Christmas, I want to buy it myself.
We have that and more in this edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, at least 100 shots of the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been administered to unvaccinated travelers who arrived in Ghana after 12 a.m. today. This is in line with a no vaccination, no entry policy announced by the Ghana Health Service as part of its effort to prevent the continuous importation of COVID-19 cases into the country. Airlines will also be charged an amount of $3,500 for each unvaccinated passenger they bring into Ghana. But just some 12 hours after the rule kicked in, at least 100 unvaccinated travelers have had to receive the jab or be turned away. I'll take you live to the Kotoka International Airport now, where my colleague Manuel Cranting has been monitoring the first day of the implementation of this no vaccination, no entry policy. Manuel, how would you describe it?
Well, so MFR, in all the number of hours that we've been here, it's been quite smooth, and all of the airlines that have actually touched down today have been cooperating. We're told that an advance notice was issued to the airlines, and they agreed to it. And so it's been a lot of cooperation between the airlines, the passengers themselves also, and then the authorities here at the Ghana Airport Company Limited. And so we have about five, airlines that have touched down with their jets this morning.
But it turns out about 100 of these travelers were not vaccinated. How come, and what explanation has been given for it? And have these airlines been surcharged the $3,500?
Well, so MFR, what we know is that these five airlines are mainly regional airlines, four of them within the African continent, and then just one of them coming out of Africa. And so what the Air Cote d'Ivoire came around 9:55, Askai Airlines came around 9:30, Air Peace at 7 a.m. and then Africa World Airlines at 9 a.m. What we are told is that for some of them, they actually took off before the starting time of 12 a.m. here in Ghana because of difference in time zone. And so when they arrived here, the folks who were unvaccinated were now administered with the Johnson and Johnson jabs. What we're told is that none of the passengers have actually refused to be vaccinated, the ones who were unvaccinated and arrived here.
In the event that any passenger, you've mentioned that all of them took the vaccine, but in the event that as a passenger you refuse to take the vaccine, have we been told what exactly then happens to you?
Well, MFR, our sources within the immigration here at the airport say that there's not been a definitive decision that has been taken, but currently what they are considering is a 14-day mandatory quarantine for persons who are unvaccinated and yet when they arrive decide not to take the vaccine here in Ghana. And so you either take the vaccine or you undergo a 14-day mandatory quarantine at your own cost here in Ghana if you decide not to take the vaccine. That is what we're learning is being considered at this point.
So these passengers, so after taking the vaccine, are they asked to test again for COVID-19? Because that's what we're told. Is that what is happening?
We're told that that process is actually ongoing, and so after the vaccination, there is another level of authentication, which the authorities here at the airport actually implement before they allow them into the general population.
That's my colleague Manuel Cranting reporting from the Kotoka International Airport on the first day of implementation of the no vaccination, no entry policy. Meanwhile, Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekwing, has justified the mandatory vaccination, insisting that public's health overrides individuals' personal choices. He spoke on the Super Morning Show.
And if you look at what you are being put at the airport, they are saying that, they are not saying don't come. They are saying if you want to come to a country called Ghana, come in fully vaccinated. So I don't see the problem. That is the protocol in the country. Come to Ghana, or when you come to Ghana, come in vaccinated. It's like you go to UK. UK say if you want to come with a visa, and you say it's against your rights. I don't get it.
But what about Ghanaians who will be vaccinated at the airport if they are not yet vaccinated? These Ghanaians, it's their right to come to Ghana. It's their fundamental right to come to Ghana. It's not a choice. When they get here, though, whether they want a vaccine or not, they will be vaccinated.
You are saying people who are in Ghana, and if you decide to go to UK tomorrow, and you are coming back, and you are not vaccinated, we have 14 days for you to improve your vaccination status. So if you come here and you are not vaccinated, you will be vaccinated at the airport. And I think that is the clarity I want to make. What we are talking about is saving the lives of millions of Ghanaians. So it's not about a right of an individual here. We are talking about the populace health. And the Minister of Health is actually mandated by the Public Health Act. And I don't know whether you say we should do another law. There's a law. And that law mandates the minister to, even if it means breaking down your house, to break it down, to make sure that it minimizes the risk of contagion. And that is the law in Ghana.
That's Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekwing, speaking earlier on the Super Morning Show. Well, a group calling itself Advocates for Christ today held a press conference raising concerns about the compulsory vaccination being undertaken by government. We also know about the no vaccination, no entry policy that kicked in today. Convener Edem Senanu, who addressed that news conference, joins us live on the line with details. So what exactly are the concerns of the Advocates for Christ?
Well, thank you, MFA. First, to indicate that 99% of COVID positive cases in Ghana recovered with little help from vaccines. Over the last 1.5 years, almost 2 years, we've been able to deal with this with therapeutics. People had erythromycin, they had ivermectin, they had hydroxychloroquine with vitamin C and D, added with the COVID protocols of wear your mask, social distance, and wash your hands. And we have survived. We have survived up to this point. So a sudden interest in vaccination, when the countries that have pushed vaccinations, like Israel, like Ireland, and have done above 80%, are in turbulence at the moment.
But Mr. Senanu, also to add that over 1,000 of these persons also did not survive. They died.
Oh yes, that's the 1%. And largely for them, it was because of underlying conditions. So our position is that we probably should be focusing much more on those in specific vulnerable groups who have underlying conditions. But if you look at us today, there is no crisis in Ghana. We have dealt with the therapeutics. On the other hand, the countries that have promoted more vaccination seems to be in turbulence. And then not just that, but the negative consequences, the adverse effects are much more than we are talking about. I mean, I listened to your program this morning and the doctors were talking about just a few out of 1,000 or million. But you need to deal with families in Ghana who've lost their fathers, their brothers. There's one young chap who came just yesterday night and couldn't get up this morning at the airport. He was vaccinated and the parents are running around this morning. We know people who have died out of this. So let's not trivialize it. It is okay to continue the vaccinations. We don't have a problem with that. But don't say it is compulsory. Article 14 that says that you can restrict the personal liberties of persons in the Constitution does not extend it to compulsorily or forcefully vaccinating people. You can quarantine them, yes, but to forcefully or compulsorily vaccinate them, that's not what the Constitution is saying.
But Article 12 also of the same constitution talks about every person in Ghana, whatever his race, place of origin, political opinion, color, religion, creed, or gender, shall be entitled to the fundamental human rights and freedoms of the individual contained in this chapter, but subject to respect for the rights and freedoms of others and for the public interest. Is that not why we are doing this? Should we wait for a crisis before we undertake such mandatory vaccination?
Yes, so the person's own rights and the rights of others must be respected. So it is to the extent that that individual is infringing on the rights of others. Now, where is the infringement going on now? What's the public health threat? That's the question we are asking. At the moment, there's no threat. Omicron has been said to give you a mild headache. Is it because of a mild headache that we are now pursuing mandatory vaccinations? It's just not clear. We've survived this far, 99% recovery, 1% mostly because of underlying conditions, all on therapeutics.
So for you, the public health interest does not override. That's override the individual personal choices. You see, or the personal choices actually override public health.
If the public health interest or threat could be demonstrated, could be actually evident, then we understand. But at the moment, where is that threat? As you walk around, as you drove to work today or whichever way, did you see a threat? The other jurisdictions where they are talking about Omicron, even in South Africa, what have they said that makes Omicron a public health threat? That should justify that we should suddenly compulsorily force people and vaccinate them and people are having difficulties. No.
Well, but you know that the minister is mandated by the Public Health Act to do what he's doing, isn't it?
Yes, but we are saying he's mandated to do so when there is a public health threat. What is the public health threat?
COVID is
we
not
do
a
know that the companies
threat.
that are supplying these vaccines appear to be doling out loads of money. Maybe that's the interest. But what is the incentive? What's the interest at this point?
So your suspicion is that there's a there's a personal interest in this particular, exercise that we are undertaking.
Sorry, come again.
I'm asking if you are suspecting that there's a personal interest that's overriding this public health interest that we are talking about.
We cannot say for certain, but it's really odd. It's strange, given the data we see on Ghana. Given the comparisons with other jurisdictions where they have been promoting the vaccination, why we are not going along with how therapeutics have helped here, and even if we want to do vaccination, it ought not to be compulsory. I mean, what's the crisis that has pushed us to get into compulsory vaccinations at this stage?
We're grateful. That's a convener for Advocates for Christ, Edem Senanu. They are raising concerns about the mandatory vaccination as well as the no vaccination, no entry policy. We know that the vaccine mandate will also kick in January, but the no vaccination, no entry policy started today. at the Kotoka International Airport. Now I'll take you to Parliament, where Chairman for the Public Accounts Committee, James Klutse Aveji, subjected Deputy Finance Minister Abna Osiasare to an interrogation on the electronic transaction levy introduced in the 2022 budget. Even though the Deputy Minister accompanied the GRA and GNPC to answer questions on the 2020 Auditor General's report, Chairman for the committee demanded clarity on how the levy, which affects mobile money transactions amongst others, will be operationalized.
We have exempted those who do cumulatively 1 to 100 Ghana cedis a day.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, sir.
If I transfer 120 Ghana cedis, the 1.75%, which amount will you charge it?
We'll charge it on the 20 Ghana cedis, Mr. Chairman.
If I transfer 120, I'll be charged on only the 20 cedis.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Ghanaians are listening and they're watching.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
If I transfer 1,000 Ghana cedis,
yes,
how much will I be charged on?
900 Ghana cedis, because the first 100 Ghana cedis and below is tax exempt.
If I transfer another 1,000 Ghana cedis to another person, how much will I be charged on? No, we need the thing to be made clear to Daniel.
Mr. Chairman,
I transfer another 1,000 Ghana the same day. How much will I be charged?
You
on?
do 1,000 Ghana.
First one.
I'm
charged
on
900.
On the 900.
I do another 1,000.
You do another 1,000 Ghana cedis. You'll be charged on the 1,000 Ghana cedis.
But I'm doing that one to another person.
Yes, you'll be charged 1,000 Ghana cedis.
So the first,
yes.
Honorable members, the first 1,000 Ghana that I transferred, I'm charged on 900. If the person I transfer the money to decide to transfer that 1,000 he received, he decide to transfer 900 to another person, how much will you charge that person?
If the person who received the 1,000 decides to
transfer 900 to another person,
if in a day the person hasn't done any transaction, the person will be charged on 800 Ghana cedis.
The third person received 900. He also decided to transfer 800 to another person. He'll be charged on 700.
Mr. Chairman.
So that my 1,000, you are charging all this money on it. That's in one day.
Mr. Chairman, what we are saying is this. If you transact, you do transactions electronically, that is when you are charged the 1.75.
That's the Deputy Finance Minister, Abna Osiasare, when she appeared together with the GRA and GNPC to answer questions on the 2020 Auditor General's report, and she was subjected to interrogation on the electronic transaction levy. Let's head to Parliament now. Kwesi Parker-Wilson joins us on the line. Kwesi, so did we get to the substantive issue, which is the 2020 Auditor General's report?
Well, so some of the concerns raised here is about how GNPCs are able to collect or retrieve the debt owed them by their main suppliers, particularly ECG, because you do understand that the owe GMP huge debt ran into some millions of Ghana cedis. And according to the Deputy Finance Minister, measures are being put in place to address the challenge, because they know that ECG themselves are also going through some challenges, and that is why they are unable to service the debt that they owe GMPC. Again, the conversation about e-levy was still on, where the Deputy Minister indicated to the House that it appears the financial bill will be laid before the House, hopefully today or tomorrow, and then the content of the bill will be spelled out clearly for every Ghanaian to know. And again, consultation has been going on. They've made huge progress with consultation, and he's quite confident and satisfied that when the bill is before the House, all members of the House would indeed agree to the content of the bill.
Okay, so that's for the Public Accounts Committee. Do we know the agenda for the main sitting today?
So the agenda, we understand that the Finance Committee will be submitting their report to the plenary for consideration. And then for yesterday, I told you that there were some concerns raised by the minority that about 32 million Ghana cedis was spent on virtual conferences. This is something that the minority would want to interrogate further when the issue comes before the House today.
Okay, well, but we're expecting the Speaker to arrive today. We have any news on him?
Well, so we are picking information that he's already in town or he's landed. However, we are not too certain whether he's going to take the chair Yesterday, when I spoke to the chief minority whip, that is Munta Kamba, he indicated to me that Mr. Speaker would rather take the chair on Thursday. So they are waiting for him to take the chair on Thursday. And of course, they are going to put their motion before him for consideration.
Parliamentary correspondent Kwesi Paka Wilson there with details from happenings in Parliament. Well, still on budget, the senior special advisor to the President, Yao Safumafo, says the current financial policy document before Parliament is the best of its kind. He attributes this to two reasons. First, because it makes provision for youth employment and skill development, and then the introduction of the controversial e-levy. He was speaking at the launch of the Ghana TVET service at ATTC earlier today.
Indeed, this current budget is one of the best budgets this country has ever produced. Because there are two things in it which are fundamental. And these are that entrepreneurship training that we are putting as part of a responsibility of government to ensure that the youth is resourced financially to be entrepreneurial. That people cannot use access to funds as a handicap. That people can develop skills and become entrepreneurs. The introduction of the e-levy is extremely critical. These two things in this budget, people must hail it. It is fundamentally a good document. This underscores the relevance of entrepreneurship, the job creation agenda. We need to move beyond that. I want a job mentality to embracing, I am creating a job for myself and others. And entrepreneurship is what we must all fight for. Therefore, Madam Director General, permit me to challenge you to stretch your mandate from technical vocational education and training TVET to technical vocational entrepreneurship education and training.
Senior presidential advisor to the President, Yao Osafo-Mafo, there describing the budget, or the Ajinkwa budget, as the best the country has ever produced. Taking us to a break here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM, also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. We're streaming live on Facebook, and then also on Kekeli Radio in Ho, Radio Max in Takrady, and Sun City Radio in Keta. Our top story is at least 100 unvaccinated travelers arriving in Ghana administered with single-dose Johnson & Johnson jabs less than 12 hours after no vaccination, no entry policy kicked off. We've been hearing from advocates for Christ on their concerns on the vaccine mandate being introduced by the health minister. Now, when we return, we have sports, and then we continue our build up to Christmas Day and hear from children in Kumasi on how they are preparing towards the Yuletide.
So this Christmas party, I want to enjoy. Oh, I want to buy my outing dress myself because my mommy always buy it to me. As for this Christmas, I want to buy it myself.
Many thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Let's do sports. Mufta, what do we have?
Director General of the National Sports Authority, Professor Peter Chumesi, has been explaining why a letter from his office was sent to the Ghana Football Association asking them to postpone matches from December 13 to December 26.
I think we have played matches for some time now, and the year is about to end. So it is a regime which has been communicated to us by our partners, Green Gas Technology. We communicated that to the GSA and the clubs last month. You know, the stadium is open for other activities. For example, we get a lot of media conferences which were out there over there. We get a lot of the competitions, also corporate organizations who come there for some of the activities. We have a lot of facilities that are made available to the public who can also rent and utilize. And they don't have anything to do with the pitch. It's a pitch that we are working on. It doesn't.
That is Professor Peter Chumesi explaining why the stadium has been given out for a musical concert.
And apologies for that poor quality in sound there. Now, fire has destroyed an estimated 300 acres of maize farm belonging to peasant farmers at Nakbaya in the West Mamprusi municipality of the Northeast region. So while the National Disaster Management Organization and the fire service investigate the cause of the blaze, the farmers suspect a resident of a nearby community who they accuse of setting the fire to collect firewood. Ilya Sutanko has more.
An estimated 90% of all the farmers in the community are said to have been affected, with most of them said to have lost their entire investment. The farmers confirmed the incident to the municipal chief executive Arimia Osomolaki, who was in the community over the weekend to commiserate with the victims. Mahama Karim is one of the victims. The fire started off of my farm before it spread widely to engulf other farms. The fire swept through the area, burning large acres of farm crops belonging to more than 23 farmers. More than 300 hectares of farms have been burnt by the fire. Almost every member of the community has been affected in this disaster. Another victim, Isifu Ibrahim, said most of the residents, including himself, have been left with nothing, lamenting that the incident could worsen their living conditions if they do not get any support from the government. The destruction is unquantifiable. Some have lost over 20 acres, others 50 acres or more.
That's Eliaso Tanko's report from the Northeast region. Now, to the Ashanti region, and a 3-year-old girl has been burnt to death at Tikrum in the Ejisu municipality of the Ashanti region. The incident happened Tuesday dawn when a 21-bedroom compound house caught fire. Patience Nana Ampao was in the same room with her grandmother, who happens to be the landlady, but the old lady could not see through the excessive smoke to save the young girl. Now, there's a job that many scoff at, and yet the service they provide is in constant demand. Eja Petru is a coffin maker, and his 39-year-old daughter is an undertaker, preparing and making up dead bodies for burial in Bokro, in a community just on the outskirts of Takrady. Theirs is a match made for business, and for them, business is booming. My colleague Justice Bedu went to meet them.
Eja Petru has made a life for himself out of carpentry. 20 years ago, he started making coffins.
I make 3 coffins every 3 days, working alone. I love this job. I don't think any other job can make me happier than making coffins.
Elizabeth Fariba is Eja Petru's first daughter. At 19, when her father's mother died, she says she was there when an undertaker who had been hired bathed her grandmother and prepared the body for burial. It was then, in her grief, that an idea to work on dead bodies hit her.
My dad used to make the old type of coffins. So when I learned this job, I told him there's a high demand for modern coffins. And so he should learn how to make them so we can work together.
And that's Justice Bedu's report from Takrady Bokro. Well, we head back to the Ashanti region because we're still counting down to Christmas, and it's 11 days more. We're also getting ready for the Joy Party in the Park. But today we're putting the spotlight on children in Kumasi because after missing out on the festivities in 2020 due to the COVID-19 restrictions, some children tell Love FM's Anita Sewa Ajoga how they're preparing for the Yuletide.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge.
Ahead of the festivities, parents get ready to make the season special for their children. But how are children preparing for the celebration?
Last year, because of the COVID, we couldn't enjoy it. It wasn't so exciting. So this Christmas party, I want to enjoy. Oh, I want to buy my outing dress myself because my mommy always buy it to me.
I'm excited because this year we will be doing everything we usually do. And when it's 31st watch night, we won't be doing that 1 hour those service. We'll be doing all service.
This year, dear, and mommy has buy some shoes and some trousers and some shirts for me to celebrate the Christmas. And I'm saving some money to buy some toys.
I'm preparing for Christmas because I and my mommy, we are going for more.
the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. MyJoyOnline.com. Stories making the headlines. Budget 2022. First Deputy Speaker hasn't exercised any power reserved solely for Speaker and not Dompre. Also, your refusal to admit motion smacks of abuse of discretionary power. Haruna Idrisu to First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and Ketasco's Francisca Lamini scores another straight ace in Wasi. That and more on MyJoyOnline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Many thanks for your company. You're heading to greatness? Remember, there's no shortcut. That's our message for Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otabil. Enjoy.
When you want it, just Momo it. When you tire for the long queue in the supermarket, just Momo it. And when you